My name is Mark, and I had just bought my dream home. It was a beautiful house with a perfect sprawling garden. There was only one problem. The previous owner had made me promise to keep the old gardener, a quiet, stooped man named Sam. Every single day, Sam would do something that drove me crazy. He would leave a single, smooth, white stone on the front porch step. I thought it was a strange, messy habit. I was about to fire him for it. But when I finally confronted him, I discovered the truth. He wasn't just tending the garden, he was keeping a promise. And that single white stone, it was a message. For me, this house was the finish line. After years of working 80-hour weeks and sacrificing everything, I had finally made it. The house was my trophy, a symbol of my success. I wanted everything to be perfect, pristine, a reflection of the order and control I had fought so hard to achieve. Sam the gardener didn't fit into that picture. He was a relic from the house's past. The previous owner, a kind old woman named Mrs. Gable, had insisted his employment be a condition of the sale. I agreed, thinking it was a small price to pay. I figured I'd let him stay for a month or two, then gently let him go and hire a modern landscaping company. But his daily ritual of placing that single white stone on my porch began to grate on me. It was a small act of chaos in my perfectly ordered world. A smudge on a masterpiece. At first, I would just kick it off into the grass. The next day, it would be back. Then, I started throwing it into the woods at the edge of the property. The next morning, a new, almost identical stone would be sitting in its place. My annoyance grew into a quiet obsession. Who was this old man to impose his strange habits on my property? He tended the flowers with a slow, meticulous care that I found inefficient. He would talk to the plants, his voice a low, gentle murmur. He never used harsh chemicals, preferring to pull weeds by hand, his knuckles caked with dirt. He represented everything I had left behind, a slow, organic world that didn't run on deadlines or profits. The white stone was the focal point of my frustration. It was his signature, a daily reminder that this garden, in some way, still belonged to him and his old ways. I decided I had to put a stop to it. I was the owner now. This was my kingdom, and he was just a humble servant. His time was up. I rehearsed the speech in my head. I would be firm but fair. I'd thank him for his years of service and give him a generous severance check. I found him at the back of the garden, by an old stone bench tucked under a massive oak tree. He was carefully pruning a rosebush. "Sam," I said, my voice coming out harsher than I intended. "We need to talk." He turned, wiping his brow with the back of a worn glove. He didn't seem surprised. He just looked at me with his calm, steady eyes. "The stone," I said, getting straight to the point. "The white stone you leave on the porch every day. It has to stop. It's untidy." He looked down at his hands, then back at me. A long moment passed, but there was a problem. He didn't apologize. He didn't offer an explanation. He just gave a small, sad nod. "I understand, sir," he said quietly. "If it bothers you, I'll stop." His easy agreement was disarming. It took the wind out of my sails. My prepared speech about letting him go felt suddenly cruel and unnecessary. "Good," I mumbled, feeling strangely foolish. "Just don't do it again." The next morning, for the first time, there was no white stone on the porch. The step looked bare, empty. I felt a strange pang of something. Not victory, but loss. The garden didn't look the same that week. Sam was still there, still working, but the heart seemed to have gone out of it. He was just going through the motions. He didn't talk to the plants anymore. The silence in the garden was louder than his murmuring had ever been. A week later, a registered letter arrived. It was from a law firm. My heart sank, assuming it was some complaint from Sam. But it wasn't. It was a letter from the estate of the previous owner, Mrs. Gable. She had passed away peacefully in her sleep. The letter contained a final addendum to her will, a personal note addressed to the new owner of her house, to me. I sat on the stone bench under the oak tree, Sam's bench, and opened the letter. Her elegant, looping handwriting filled the page. "To the new owner of my home," it began. "I hope you find as much peace within these walls as I did. I have one last story to share with you, and it concerns the garden and the man who tends it. His name is Sam." The letter went on to explain. Sam wasn't just a gardener. He was Mrs. Gable's son. He had been born with a severe learning disability and a condition that made him almost entirely nonverbal. The garden was his world, the only place he felt safe and capable. Mrs. Gable had spent her life protecting him, creating this sanctuary for him. But the real secret was the white stone. My late husband, Sam's father, was a geologist, she wrote. Before he went to work every morning, he would place a smooth white stone on the front porch. It was his silent way of telling Sam, "I'm thinking of you. I'll be home soon." It was their secret language. After my husband passed away, Sam took over the ritual. Every morning, for 30 years, he has placed that stone on the step. It wasn't for me. It was for his dad. It was his way of saying, "I'm still here, Dad. I'm taking care of the garden. I'm waiting for you." The letter fell from my hands. My throat was tight. The messy habit, the act of defiance I had seen, was an act of profound love and devotion. It was a son, trapped in the silence of his own mind, speaking to his father in the only language he knew. My demand that he stop wasn't just a request for tidiness. I had asked him to stop talking to his dad. I had silenced him. The shame was overwhelming. I looked around at the garden, and I didn't see overgrown bushes and inefficient methods. I saw a sanctuary built by a mother's love and maintained by a son's unwavering loyalty. I had come in and tried to pave over paradise, to make it fit my own sterile definition of success. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. I walked to the edge of the property, to the woods where I had thrown all those smooth, white stones. I searched for the most perfect one I could find. I walked back to the house, and with a trembling hand, I placed the stone gently on the front porch step. When Sam arrived for work, he stopped. He saw the stone. He looked from the stone to me, standing in the doorway. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. For the first time, a slow, brilliant smile spread across his face. And in that moment, I understood. I hadn't just bought a house. I had inherited a promise. And from that day on, there were always two white stones on the front porch. His and mine. What is the most beautiful promise you've ever witnessed?